All right, thanks for joining me. I'm Matt Mayoko from NBC Sports Bay Area, kind of a day after debrief of the 49ers 28-18 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Just had an opportunity to rewatch the game. And I mean, it was basically the way it looked on Sunday, where the 49ers simply did not play well. Big, crucial mistakes in every facet of the game. And so they fall to 3-4 on the season. And Dallas Cowboys coming to town, 49ers. Obviously, the temperature of the season changes a whole bunch. And I kind of go back to week 6, where if the 49ers beat Seattle on that Thursday night, it looks one way. If they lose, it looks like desperation mode. I don't think this last game with Kansas City was nearly as pivotal as that game against Seattle, but this one coming up against the Dallas Cowboys is. So we'll talk a lot about Shanahan, Purdy, and other situations with the team. I did want to tell you to be sure to check out Canyon Club Brewery in Moraga. It's a restaurant, it's a beer garden, it's so much more. Great family friendly atmosphere in Moraga. And coming soon to Danville, the Livery in Danville. They're constructing it now. It should be open fairly soon. I'll keep you posted on that, but it should be a fantastic spot in Danville. So, um, a lot of key moments in the game, and it wasn't, it turned, I think, in the middle of the third quarter. 49ers were down by 2 points. They were driving, and then the interception that Brock Purdy threw. And it was a play where when it happened, it was so off target to Ronnie Bell. It made me wonder if the right route was run, if there was a miscommunication or whatever else. And Brock Purdy addressed it after the game. He said that Ronnie did his job. I thought he just got hemmed up. I didn't know where he was going to come out on the route. So I tried to put it on him, and he ended up breaking out pretty good. So Ronnie did his job. It was on me. And so, I think the 49ers, I wouldn't say that they're going through a crisis mode right now any more than what we've seen in the past, but it is definitely a situation where the 49ers are 3-4. And we can talk about, oh, they have, a better team than this. They have, the players to get it done. They have the coaching to get it done, but they haven't gotten it done. And right now, the 49ers are a below average team in the NFL, and their record indicates that. There was, I know, a situation in the locker room that some people saw. I was not in the locker room at this point post game, but Tim Kawakami from the San Francisco Standard summed it up. It was Shanahan had already spoke to the media. Purdy was getting ready to speak to the media, and it sounded like Shanahan and Purdy, Shanahan singled Purdy out, went over toward his locker, and had a really good discussion. And it lasted longer than most people have seen. Kind of those kind of post game scenarios happen. And according to Kawakami recounting this, they were talking for quite a bit, and John Lynch came over and kind of jokingly gestured to them that half the media people in the locker room were watching this, and kind of, I don't think anybody was eavesdropping, but they were all kind of watching what was going on. And according to Kawakami, and I quote, that prompted Shanahan and Purdy to look around, laugh, share a hand clasp, and end the discussion. So I think probably the bottom line is that in a game like Sunday, where the 49ers have their three top wide receivers out of the lineup, and with Brandon Ayuk out for the season with the torn ACL, my thought is probably Shanahan's message is just keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to play outside of yourself. As Brock Purdy later said in his post-game remarks, he doesn't have to put the Superman cape on and do everything by himself. He still has plenty of playmakers on the team. And of course, the 49ers are hoping that they'll get Christian McCaffrey back on the team at some point after the bye. And Deebo Samuel should be back for the game against the Cowboys, and maybe Jawan Jennings as well. But just look at the pass or the play distribution for the wideouts from the game on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. Ricky Pearsall making his NFL debut leading into this game. I thought he would probably play like 15 to 20 snaps, 15, 25 snaps, something like that. He ended up playing 48 of the 49ers' 63 snaps in this game. And so Pearsall, a guy who, is basically the number 4 receiver. Now he's the number 3 receiver with Ayuk out for the season with his injury. But without Deebo Samuel and Juwan Jennings on the field, it was Pearsall who was basically the team's number 1 receiver, followed by Chris Conley, who played 44 snaps in the game. Ronnie Bell played 24. Jacob Cowing had 12, and that's because Deebo Samuel only played 4 snaps before he was removed with the injury. So 49ers have to get things going offensively, defensively, special teams especially. And I do this thing at NBCSportsBayArea.com where 49ers overreactions. It's been a staple of our coverage. Every Tuesday we come out with the overreactions and a lot of Brock Purdy bashing and a lot of Kyle Shanahan bashing. And I guess, that's the nature of the NFL. Whenever a team loses, it's the sky is falling. Whenever a team wins, they're the best team in the world. And so that's just the way it happens. But, I just don't, you know, I don't feel like there's anything, wrong with Brock Purdy other than he hasn't played well for a couple of games this season. And the game Sunday was certainly his worst game, lowest passer rating of his career. But the Shanahan and Brock Purdy combination have been very good, and they've given the 49ers a lot of really good moments over the past, since Brock Purdy took over as the starting quarterback late in the 2022 season. Uh, Purdy is a good match for Shanahan's offense, and um, and Shanahan is a good match for Purdy as a quarterback. So those two really seem tight at the hip to me, a good combination who seem to work very well together. And so we'll see. I mean, we have seen teams defensively, I think, make some adjustments in how they defend the 49ers. And it's the onus is on the 49ers to figure this stuff out, regardless of who is on the field. And they have to really start figuring this thing out leading into this game Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys coming off of their bye week, so they're going to be ready to go in this game. A couple of other things I want to point out, and the offensive line is always a subject with the 49ers, especially when things are going poorly. And coming off the game on Sunday, there was the 1 sack allowed. I would not put that on the offensive line. Kind of a mix up with Aaron Saubert kind of getting tangled up with an offensive lineman, and it looked like it was basically his responsibility, but it was just kind of a weird play how that all came out. But no sacks blamed on the offensive line. However, I mean, there is no denying that Karlaftis, when he hit Purdy and forced the interception in the end zone in the fourth quarter, Colton McKivitz was the guy who was beaten on that play, no question about it. So, again, I've cited these stats before only because it's the only organization I know that watches every game and grades every player. So I'm going to go back to Pro Football Focus. And after this game on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs, Colton McKivitz was graded, in spite of that hit that he allowed on Purdy, as one of the 49ers better players in this game. And for the season, let's just kind of go through where the offensive line stacks up individually compared to other offensive linemen in the NFL. Right now, as far as left tackles go, PFF has Trent Williams ranked as the number 3 left tackle in the NFL. Colton McKivitz is ranked by PFF as the number 5 right tackle in the NFL. And then I didn't break it up over right guard, left guard, but all guards in the NFL with over 200 snaps of play this season. Dominic Puni is 9th in the league. Aaron Banks is 12th. And then again, with offensive linemen with more than 200 snaps, Jake Brendel is 19th. So I know everybody always thinks that their offensive line, whichever team you're rooting for, especially after a loss, the offensive line stinks, everything else. But PFF objectively has the 49ers ranked as the 10th best pass blocking offense in the league and the number two ranked run blocking offense in the league. So, again, take that for what it's worth, but I'm just letting you know that if you're down on the 49ers offensive line, there are a lot of teams out there that have not been as good as the 49ers offensive line, and the 49ers still rank as one of the top offensives as far as total yards and points in the NFL this season. It just didn't look that way against the Kansas City Chiefs. No question about it. And let me just say this: 49ers offense, by and large, stunk. The passing game, the running game did not get the short yardage yards that they should get. The passing game, we all know the answer there. The three interceptions, it was horrible. The defense missed a lot of tackles again, 9 tackles, and I was very giving I gave Malik Mustafa a lot of praise, but he did have 3 missed tackles. And there were a couple plays at the goal line. He had some big hits in this game, but at the goal line, Patrick Mahomes kind of put his shoulder into him and leveled him on a 4th-and-goal running attempt. I think Mustafa had a chance to stop him shy of the end zone on that play. And then McCole Hardman also came up on him at the goal line and got into the end zone as well. So special teams, again, absolute disaster. There was even a play where Jacob Cowing, while fielding a punt, George Odom almost ran into him. That could have easily been a turnover for the 49ers or a muffed punt there. There was another play where Mitch Wishnowsky could have easily had a punt blocked. So even on the plays that really aren't going to be talked about as far as bad special teams plays, they were very close to being extremely bad special teams plays. So not only was there the long punt return the 49ers gave up where everybody was slipping and sliding all over a dry field, and they gave up that big play. There was the miss extra point, the boink or doink off of the left upright from Anders Carlson, the 49ers' third kicker in 3 weeks, and of course the quite ugly onside kick attempt that didn't make it 10 yards. Heck, it didn't even make it 5 yards from Mitch Wishnowsky. So a lot of areas where the 49ers need to tighten things up. Is it time to panic? No, it's not time to panic. They are 3-4. They're 7 games in. We've seen this story before, but does that mean that 49ers are going to automatically turn it around because they have guys like Trent Williams and Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle and Deebo Samuel and Nick Bosa and Fred Warner? No, it doesn't mean that at all. But I do think that a little bit of patience is required, because I can say this, that as bad as it looked on Sunday against Kansas City, and it did look bad, there's no question about it. And there's reason for the fan base to be upset when the 49ers have set the bar so high over the past 3 seasons, making it to the NFL's equivalent to the Final Four each of those years. When they don't look good, and they fail to reach their expectations or the standard, yes, of course, people are going to be upset. The higher you set that bar, the more room there is to not meet expectations and to disappoint the fan base. But I can also tell you this, is that late in the season, we're not going to be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs game in week 7. That'll be a footnote to whatever happened this year. 49ers are 1 game below 500. They're 1 game back of the Seattle Seahawks. And so the goal for the 49ers when the season started was probably to earn the number 1 seed get a bye heading into the postseason and play all their playoff games at home. That's not happening, folks. But as the Kansas City Chiefs showed last season, you don't need the first round bye. You don't need home field advantage to make it through the conference playoffs and get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. So I know it's ridiculous to even be talking about the Super Bowl at this point, but the 49ers, number one priority, and as it should be, is just to find a way to get into the postseason. And again, that's a long way down the road, but Brandon Ayuk won't be part of the equation. Uh, but everybody else, maybe with the exception of Javon Hargrave, should be part of it. So, there's a lot of football to be played. But if the 49ers keep playing like they did on Sunday, the way they played against the Rams, the way they played against the Cardinals, then of course, the postseason will not be in the cards for this team. But there's still a long way to go. And we'll see how this thing turns out. But I will say that this game Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys is a very, very important game. It's the difference between the team heading into the bye week 4-4 and the team heading into the bye week being 3-5. And I think that there is a huge difference between those records as the 49ers would head into the second half of the season. So thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Turn on your notifications so when a new video goes live, you can watch it. And also like and comment. And well, that's it for now.